Hello, welcome back to another Cast a Game on the Age of Bison YouTube channel. And today we got a special one. Before we get started, this is the beginning of the new 1v1 tournament in the Age of Sunbros Discord. So currently the rules are a sort of round robin between two individuals before they go into an elimination round. And so we are beginning with the start of that tournament. It's a 1v1 tournament, and the requirements, I believe, are just 1500 elo cap. So you are going to be seeing some good low to mid elo gameplay here. 1500 elo cap with, I believe, the base being 1000. And so that's the qualifiers in this 1v1 tournament, and this is the very first game. And so we're going to go ahead and roll into it right now. And we have a Hausa mirror with Vindian on one side and Ewoewo on the other. So currently right now casting with my good friend Platypus, and a good luck, have fun, and a Vindian with a taunt 1. And we are currently on Wallachia. Hey Platypus, and what are you thinking about this map and this matchup?
Well, this map is a hybrid map. There's lots of flexibility, a lot of native posts. Hausa usually requires a lot of map control in order to get their influence. Both these players, for those that aren't familiar, are kind of, I don't want to use the word mad scientists, but they both like to play off meta. They both like to explore different strategies. And, Hausa is an incredibly versatile civ, an incredible array of completely unique options. So it is a mirror match. Mirror matches tend to be very kind of snowbally, where one person gets an advantage and never lets go. So ultimately, it's just going to depend on, I think, positioning and who has the more solid strat going into it.
Absolutely. And two really solid players. We've seen plenty of Vindian gameplay and plenty of Ewoewo gameplay on this channel, and maybe you've interacted with them either in-house if you're part of the Discord, or if you've had the unfortune of meeting them on the ladder. Here on Wallachia, it's going to be kind of tight because, like you said, that influence is going to be hotly contested with the two trade posts here in the center, and then, of course, your two on the side with this little, I guess you could call it peninsula, sitting here and giving you 2 coin mines and a couple of hunts, including a native trade post, or specifically a royal house of Vetten, and then you have the 2 Fanar, which is going to give you pretty nice units here in the center. So let's go ahead and take a look at the decks here. So currently on, I believe this is Rushy Rush on Ewoewo's side. I think this is Ewoewo's side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. Okay, so pretty. I feel like they're going to be kind of mirroring each other. Desert Warriors, griots. Oh, the griots in H2, pretty rough to deal with. And we got some. So probably just a lot of unit shipments here. Raiders, Fulani, Roomfa. I mean, tons of stuff here, and then even more Cav coming out from the palaces, and then plenty of H3 options here, with not as much H4, but some boom options kind of worked into there, but just tons and tons of shipments and some buffs here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the Vindian side really quick, so we're not missing any of the action. Pretty standard, I would say, for Hausa. We got the infamous Akan build, so you can get the Unkan and Cobia in H2, get that influence, and these guys are just deadly in all ages. Really great musketeer kind of unit, in conjunction with the griots that will stun you, and then Palace Wagon, maybe some turtling, and plenty of unit shipments. So we're going to see some just straight up action, I think.
And speaking of action, I mean, Ewoewo looks like he's already trying to build a palace, which is kind of like a combination between a fort and an outpost, like a midpoint, right on his opponent's face. So, like, when his deck is called Rushy Rush Rush, he is not messing around.
No, extremely aggressive palace placement here. And also, I would imagine maybe taking this trade post line. And that looks like a 12 over 20. And he's going up here with Songhai. So that's also going to give even more unit shipments going into H2. Let's see how Vindian's going to be responding. H2 already coming in with the Berbers. Okay, so it seems like, I feel like maybe some pretty strong fast fortress perhaps coming out from Vindy's side, and if he can hold, that would be pretty good. But I feel like Hausa, they have so many options. The livestock give you the ability to kind of remacro your economy. They do have some built-in mechanics for turtling if they need to combat a rush, and then on top of that, they have a pretty deadly fast fortress, and of course his H2 options with Akan as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, when it comes in a mirror match between two versatile civs, it's going to, I think, depend on who can tech switch at the right time and get the right units in the right spot. And of course, that sounds like an oversimplification, and it kind of is, but it's a mirror match, right? So it's going to be up to, you know, basically who can finesse their advantage the longest and the most efficiently. So what are they aging up with too, by the way?
Songhai on
Okay.
Ewoewo's side, and then Vindi going up with Berbers. So,
All right. So Vindian's going probably for more of a boom play, right?
right.
The Berber villagers and the Berber natives are kind of really great at defending and kind of snowballing. I don't think he gets Berber villagers right off the bat. I think he has to hard train them. Anyways, an Ewoewo Songhai is more cavalry oriented. So again, he's probably looking to deal with any Fulani
Right.
pops that happen.
And he's also getting House of Kingdoms, so that's going to give him a trade builder and a university builder, I believe, right off the bat. Yes. So that's immediately going to go ahead. He's going to pop that university down for the influence as well as tax. And then I'm wondering, what's he
He'll
going
probably
to...
take a TP somewhere.
I would imagine so. Probably next to that palace or right here. A little bit safer. War Camp also going down to Ewoewo's side, and like you said, right going for the Raiders here. Vindy's side, speaking of, University placing forward position, and then a War Camp here going into the back, and already a Royal Embassy. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see that. 2 Berber Camels coming out here. And I believe Berber Camel, if I correct me if I'm wrong, as a native unit, they are hand cavalry that counter other cav. So he's kind of anticipating. I wonder, does he see this? He doesn't. He does now. So he's going to see that aggressive placement coming in here, and he should. Oh, he misses the Raiders. Let's see if he gets it. Great
Good
micro.
reaction time. But look at that. Looks like he was trying to body block a bit. Yep.
Yes, he is. This is so you're going to see a little bit more of an aggressive play, I think here. Plenty on the line here in a tournament match. You're going to see the best that these players have to offer. Very excited, but Explorer going down, this is kind of a huge loss. You want those Explorers to stay up when it comes to the African civs, and then on Vindy's side, great play with the Camel Riders to counter.
Yep, he was quick, right on the ball, and both these people do play a lot of Hausa, so I would assume that Vindian anticipating, the Raider push and the Songhai age up.
Now, interesting enough, he's going to have to continue to make sure that he keeps these universities up because these Camel Riders are going to be costing influence, but he does have Fulani coming in, so it is kind of an early kind of skirm goon combination, if you can even call it that. These guys in melee will counter cav in their attack. So, and then Fulani are going to serve as the skirm. Let's looking over Ewo's side, Emir. So that's going to be a pretty big buff to the hero, or explorer as I like to call it. I guess I'm old-fashioned. And so he can build and he can fight a little bit better than that. And then also more Fulani coming in. And so he currently has Raiders. So that's going to be like a pretty weak hand cav, more akin to a Hussar, or a Cossack, I should say, more technically.
Is that a second palace going up there on the left side of that central TP line?
Ooh, the sweat is real. We got a second palace. So these guys, I believe the palace gives... Do they give trickle? I don't think so.
Not inherently. I believe you do have to build a university. Again, if there's any Hausa mains in the thing, I'm not a Hausa expert, so if I've missed something, let me know. But yes, I do believe that the university has to be placed next to the palace in order to get a trickle.
Now, this is going to be interesting that you can twist yourself on this map, right? So controlling this peninsula would be huge. And once again, Vindy is just insane with this line of sight right here. So he definitely saw that Raider play coming in. And
it looks like on the right side, there's also a little bit of skirmishing going on. So,
okay, so he's going to go ahead and push that, but then Vinny's going to position himself to go ahead and catch this raid right here.
Oh no, but he drag boxed, and that allows Ewoewo to get away.
Okay. And taking a look over here, immediately going after that Grainer, going to hurt the economy a little bit. TC Fire going to go ahead and take out. Now Palace going to go ahead and go to work. He's not going to be able to really push this too much. Javelin Riders are going to get absolutely countered by these Fulani. There we go. That's the Econ card coming in. That's just a nasty... Usually when... I don't know how it's going to work in a mirror match. I haven't seen a House of Mirror match. But usually these guys in H2 with the griots is just disgusting. It is just so difficult to contend with when you're playing in another vanilla civ primarily.
Okay, there's villagers. Supposed to say both players had idle TCs, right? And,
Yeah.
one thing for Vindy that is a bit of a disadvantage is the fact that he lost 2 houses and he lost the granary just because, Hausa, for the most part, gets their woods from their cattle market, right? Like, they kind of save up their cows and then they sell them for wood being the most valuable resource. So,
Right.
A lot of his good units do require wood, so this might be a little bit of a setback. But he looks fine right now. I don't think either player is feeling comfortable at this point of the game. You know,
Yeah.
again, Vindian trying to boom, right? That's kind of, we call him Vindy Greed or the Vindy Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, but he's about to get pressure. Is he going to lose some vills here?
Ooh, one
Yep.
veil going down.
Just
So here's the thing: is that I think just the kind of you see an attack coming in from here, and an attack coming in from here. So I think that's just kind of keeping him boxed in. Now the thing about Wallachia is that you do have the coin mine here, and you do have a coin mine here, and you have another one here if you can get another building, and then another one here if you can get another building, and then plenty of hunts in the back. So one of the things about these new kind of expansion maps, they're kind of generous, I think, in their resources. Some, I mean, I think you would argue, or we have talked about maybe being too generous in their resource placement. But I know that Hausa definitely has the mechanics in order to unit shipment coming in here. Some raiders maybe get some pressure out, but he does have the mechanics in order to, even though this placement here on Ewoewo's part is very aggressive and forward, and it's going to keep him boxed in. This kind of island that he finds himself on, he's got plenty of resources in order to last out into the mid game. Right, so
exactly.
as long as he can kind of expand, then he should
It
be
looks like
okay.
he is. Again, Ewoewo just, he's got a second trade, but that's exactly what you do. In these kind of situations, like the reality is often pushing into turtles, no matter the civ, is not going to be cost effective until the very late game. So often the best you can do is take the map off, boom even harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually he will run out of res. You should be able to stay on hunts longer, mines longer, etc. And basically put him on a timer and force him then to come to you now that you have the map control and you can fall back. But
Right, right.
hopefully the game doesn't go that long or to that point, because that would be quite the long cast. But all right, let's see it. It looks like we're gonna have about a major engagement.
Oh, we're kind of backing off this engagement right here. Raiders, huge Raider mass Falani getting in there, immediately popping off there. These guys have such a good fire rate. You don't expect it, but these guys are pretty deadly here. Vinian kind of backing off and needing to kind of preserve his strength here. He's got a mass coming in right now. Oh, man, these guys are pretty even in their fight. Oh, good raid here, getting them off the hunts.
Ooh.
One villa going down already. So that's going to be 27 on Ewoewo's side and then 26. So these guys are pretty much even. These, I don't know. I'm looking for those Berber camels. They are still in the mix. He does have Javelin Riders on Ewoewo's side, though, so he will counter this Javelin. Oh,
yeah.
look at that. He's trying to get on top of these Falani, but these Javelin Riders are just going to go to work.
Yeah, and his units were kind of going back and forth. I don't know if that was a misclick or attack move doing what it do, but
now if he
kind of rough.
Yeah, if he can preserve, oh, he does have more Berber Camel coming in, so those may turn the tide, but he did preserve the Raiders a little bit later into the fight, and so they are able to get on top of the Falani. Javelin Riders are going to end up getting melted by this Falani mass, though, and I'm not exactly sure. It seems like it's going to be kind of even here. Oh, and then Vindian clean. These Berber Camel Riders now, they are kind of expensive in H2, 300 health. So, I mean, if he can attack move out of this, that's a huge win on Vindy's part. That's a huge win. Wow.
It is, but look at the score. Again, I think that's exactly the issues. Perhaps his units are a bit more expensive, so even though his mass is the same, he might be getting bled. But because look at Ewoewo's res right now. In fact, he's probably about to click to 3 here any second.
Yeah, if he can, if he can re-macro, he's got none on coin right now. So if he can re-macro, maybe sell some of the food off. Nope, he chooses not to. Instead, he's going to go for 5 Raiders. Oh, switching cards here. 4 griots. Okay. And then also going for the Crossing Festival. It's going to give some more cattle. So maybe he can kind of, I think here, he's going to get some griots. Maybe he can mass a little bit more. This is the power of Hausa, right? I'm sending in these cards. I'm still training, and guess what? I still have plenty of res here.
Exactly.
To kind of go
Let's take a look at Vindian, though, because, again, Vindian's score just jumped ahead. And that's because Vindian is spending all of his resources, and it looks like Vindian's committing to the H2. He's basically saying, look, I don't feel safe. I don't want to age up. I just wiped the mass. Now I need to escape and either get to 3 or be able to push here shortly. But with that double palace, it's basically, it has better combined stats than an Agra, so it's not going to be the most easy thing to push. But he is getting a sneaky little trick post out.
He does. I am looking over here on the left. He is sending some fills out. He's going to go ahead and take the Wetton. Now, Wetton's going to give him, at least in H2, those pikemen that disperse damage to themselves. So that's pretty good to have in the mass, and they have good siege attack there. So pretty all-around good unit in H2. He's getting another trade post and another trade post here on the left. So that will even out with him with Ewoewo now having 2 trade posts here. And these guys do have a global ban, so I'm really wondering what they pick for their ban for them to force them into a mirror match. But I'm not complaining.
I'm not either. This has actually been pretty entertaining so far. You know, again, mirror matches, they're fun for everyone, usually except for the players, right?
Yeah,
Because
I
when you're in a
hate
mirror
mirror
match,
match. I hate it.
you know you're on the razor's edge, right? And you kind of have to assume that your opponent knows all your tricks and vice versa, right? But from like a watching casting perspective, like this has been very entertaining. So looks like Vindian, he took this trading post, perhaps a bit greedy. Um, you know, it's going to get siege down. He's taking his time, but can we look on the left side? Is he going to lose that other trade post?
Good catch. I didn't see it.
Yep.
He's just got a couple Raider here. About 5,
Wow,
just a
good.
small mass. Good catch. So he probably is going to be expecting that. He does have the 1 vil here. He does get that trade post up. And there's the Raiders.
You know, again, for those that don't know, Raiders are like kind of like Step Riders. So they're a hand cav. They're a little bit tankier than your Step Rider, but still kind of an expensive unit, and they have very good siege for a cav. So
Yeah, I kind of compared them to Cossacks just because I feel that they're weaker in terms of combat compared to a Hussar, but that's probably not the most accurate statement. Oh, and
they
then a
are.
vil going down before he gets the trade post up. Oh.
7 seconds. Oh, that's rough. Poor Vindian.
But Vindy has a huge mass, and here's one of the things is that I thought that Ewoewo was going to dedicate himself to a H3.
Wait, real fast, there's 2 archers stuck in that native trading post.
That's... Oh, they're still fighting. Oh, there's the griots going ahead. You know, that always reminds me of, like, the the Horn of Rohan.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, like, when they're sounding off. Very interesting.
It feels like that if you're on the receiving end of it, too, let me tell you. except you work for Isengard.
So here's the thing. He is getting those... He's just... Oh, the Fulani.
Oh, no.
That's...
He's trying to drag box back and forth, but... Yeah, I think the drag box is kind of doing him in here, and especially with the griots stun locking his army. You know, the griots, they don't literally stun lock; they just reduce the DPS by 50%. So it's brutal. You know, I mean, there's no 2 ways around it. And just like that, I think Vindian is
on the back foot here with 4K score lead on Ewoewo's part. The thing is that you have to always kind of question yourself of, do I go H3 or do I not? I think that was the big question. You saw each side kind of massing their resources, licking their wounds. Ooh. And good raid here on Ewoewo's part, but I'll just finish that thought is that, you know, you're kind of like, do I go H3? Do I go ahead and get that tech advantage? But then you spend your resources and then your opponent pushes you because then you don't have the res to respond, lose your mass, and then start losing infrastructure. Or do you dedicate to the H2? And both seem dedicated to that H2. And it's been interesting because usually with the other civs, you want to go ahead and go H3 just because you're like, all right, well, I don't have as many options H2, but you don't have that problem with Hausa. In this composition, right, we have Skirmisher, we have Anti-Cav, we have a kind of hand-cav Hussar sight type unit, and we have Musks, at least on Vindy's part, and then for Ewoewo's part, a similar mix. So you don't really need the H3 option, not necessarily.
Yeah, not in the same way like another civ would have to go get cannons, or, you know, Germany gets its better shipments in 3. You know, Hausa is pretty flexible. You know, again, this is a civ that has a ton of options. It can play a variety of ways with kind of on the fly, not necessarily on the fly, but multiple ways within one matchup. So, all right, Vindian's kind of pushing out. He's probably trying to get his Emir up or waiting for the spawn to come back. If I remember right, they actually have to wait for the spawn cooldown.
He does get some griot out. He does train it from the university, so that's going to be good in his composition. He's got quite a mass here, but Ewoewo is going up on H3. He is going up with a con. So that's going to give him a couple more options in terms of units, and he is ahead in terms of economy at that point. So 33 even, but he is not aging up. He is going to send up in that 600 coin chest, so he should get an H3 here soon. Just depends on if he can hold and if Ewoewo wants to push. He probably is going to want to wait for that H3. Not entirely sure what he's thinking. I would say, I don't know, if you see that score difference, you might want to take advantage, but he simply is not. You don't want to give Vindy time. I know that. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, that's exactly it. You know, Vindian, you don't want to let your opponent get back in the game, but, you know, at the same time, too, you don't want to throw away your units. And, ooh, nice little raid here. And, you know, again, this is doing a good job. You just death by 1,000 cuts, right? Again, it's a mirror match, so in theory, there's almost nothing his eco can do that yours can't. So if you're just killing vills here and there, that is going to be decisive in the long term.
Right. You want any sort of advantage that you can take, and even if that's 1 vil, you want to take that advantage because there's no inherent advantage that you have, just because of the civ matchup, right? You can't like press that. So instead, if it's all even, then anything that you do mechanically in a macro or micro level is what is going to be the difference here.
And then so here's the question, because I know Vindian, he was stacking resources, but I guess he's going to attack now.
He is going to go H3 with this push. I agree with that.
Hmm.
Moroccans now. So
I
Vindian
agree with
does.
the push, but not necessarily pushing and aging at the same time, because these are resources that could be in an army.
Griot standing in front. They are going to go ahead and take those casualties. I don't know exactly where. I guess he lost his Griots, Ewoewo. He does. He is going to lose that war camp. Palace trying to get some action in. Let's see how this goes. Cav is kind of fighting it out. I feel like Vindy's going to clean this right now. And then Ewoewo again
Wow.
saving the Raiders for the end of the fight, just baiting the push. Let's see if they get on top. Oh, this is so good. Wow. And then there we have it. A huge switch. And the thing is that Vindy knew. He knew that the Raiders were there. And yet still dedicates to that push, and he baits out.
Oh, and then one last like
And
Raider
one
push. And
last
are
5.
those vet Raiders now? Yep,
Yep.
elite hand cavalry. Yep.
And that's a clean. Now, however, this fight is still
I don't
even,
know.
and oh,
There we go. Yeah, I'm sure a GG was called. You know, again, when the recording stops, anything that's posted after doesn't capture. But wow, that was a that was pretty action packed, I must say. Like there was a lot of back and forth from pretty early on all the way to the end. And yeah, I don't know about you, but my initial thoughts are, you know, it's like a standard mirror match. I think those like little villagers and pushing back and forth and winning little engagements, and then taking that momentum and being able to go to H3 first and get your vet techs before pushing. I think that's what gave Ewo the commanding victory in our first game.
I don't. I'm more just like sitting in shock at that surrender. You have the H3 coming in. I mean, you're gonna have options in terms of shipping more units. I mean, I guess because he saw the score difference and he saw that Ewoewo has an advantage, and any sort of advantage that you have at this level of play, you're gonna take advantage of it. So
Not well, not just that, but he lost his whole mass, right? So now his opponent can push with H3 units. He still hasn't got his H3 tech, and he has no units to even spend the vet tax on. So basically, he'd be at disadvantage for probably the next 5 or 10 minutes. And I think Vindian was saying, you know what? It's a best of three. I could drag this out forever, or I could just, you know, accept that I'm unlikely to win, and I'll just go to the next one. And you know, there's valid and merit to I think both ways of thinking.
yeah, I was just more just like surprised. I mean, I think Vindian was playing really well. I think Ewo was playing very very well. I was just surprised. I mean, maybe because these guys are much better players than me. You know, you have the tendency, I feel like, at a lower elo to kind of want to play it out, just
Mhm.
because you're thinking, oh, I got H3, I have some turtling options, I could drag this. But you're right. Like Vindian's like, nope, I'm not gonna delay the inevitable. It's a 3. It's a best of 3. So we'll just go for it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the post game. Vindy with most resources, not by a lot, and more units. So I guess that just kind of shows that that Raider, like micro, that he was holding back was huge. Yeah, 56 Raiders versus the 49 Fulani, right? It's a
I
razor
agree.
thin difference. It's a razor thin difference.
I think that was pretty smart, and he was able just to get a little bit more cost effectiveness at one. You know, a good deal more, but not like a massive cost. Not like Vindian was throwing fights. I mean, two of the fights basically came to a standstill. It's just at the end, Ewoewo had the tech and the economy advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Vindian kind of needed to win that fight in order to start snowballing some momentum and being able to get back into it. So
Yeah, look at
again,
this.
that's a mirror match. If it was any other Civ, he might have fought it out a bit more or been able to switch up. But anything he can do now, Ewo can do better, and you'd basically have to hope for Ewo to throw.
I guess the loss came in 16 minutes. Right here. Just a little too much difference, I think. Yeah, a little too much. He does bounce back, but I feel like just the cost sink versus what he has to recover. Right? He gets H3, immediate upgrades, and then another even fight, right? But again, just that little difference between the two. Let's go and take a look at the Vil count. Small little raids, right? See these little
Little dips
etchings.
here and there.
Yeah, just slowing him down. Interesting.
Again, Vindian had invested more into a boom, and that boom was essentially erased, one villager at a time.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. But I think, kudos to each of these players. Vindian does have another game here in the series to kind of catch on up. And I mean, just a fantastic mirror match between the two. Really good micro on display with these two units. Two completely different strategies on display, but really great. Just Age 2 fighting it out. Pure strategy between the two players. Really excellent game. And I wanted to thank both of them personally for allowing us to pick over what they're doing, cast, and talk about their gameplay. Thank you so much, guys,
Yeah.
for tuning in for this episode. If you like this content, you want to see more from the Age of Bison 1v1 tournament, go ahead, hit a like, subscribe, leave a comment what you think about this video. It'll help us with the traction. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way. We'll be leaving a link in our
And
Discord.
we'll,
And
we'll be trying to get out at least, I think, one video from every series. We have quite a bit. This time there are 32 players in our
yeah,
tournament. The last time I think we had what, 14 or
yeah,
12?
we're doubled. Yeah, over double.
Exactly. So I can't guarantee. We're going to try to get as many as we can of every skill level too, as we always do, because again, everyone I think deserves a shot to showcase their skills. And get both Vindy and Ewoewo, I think, made a pretty good case on their expertise and their comfort with the Civ of Hausa, a very complex and a very intimidating Civ to both play and play against. So kudos to both of them. And I think after a match like this, either player, no matter, because neither player is eliminated after the next round, right?
Right.
So I hope to see more of them in the upcoming matches.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you in the next one.